Hi guys, happy Wednesday and happy live. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I hope you guys are all staying safe and well. My earrings kind of blend into my hair, but anyways, I'm going to do my normal today, which is question and answer, as somebody calls me right now. Question and answer. I'll do the local real estate statistics update and Ontario as well, and also go over some happy news. Okay. So first we will start with a question from Marilyn. Hi Wahoo, how are you? A question from Marilyn. So Marilyn is from Minising. I never knew you had a twin before Wahoo, or maybe I did, but I forgot. But anyways, Marilyn from Minising said, I heard gray is out. Do you think I should paint before I list? And how important is having your home depersonalized and decluttered? I've lived here for 21 years, so I have a lot of stuff, to say the least. Thank you, Marilyn, for asking. Yeah, colors switch all the time, to be honest. Just like kitchens, like what's in, and bathrooms, what's in, just so they make you get new all the time, kind of thing. But in this market, I wouldn't worry about it. If, for example, your room was like bright red, bright pink, bright purple, etc., and today's Wednesday and your photos are next Monday, if you can paint between now and then, I absolutely would. But if you can't get a painter in for 2 or 3 weeks, I would not wait, because then there's going to be more inventory on the market by then, so I would not wait for that. For depersonalizing, again, just do as much as you can before your pictures are taken, and same with decluttering, but don't wait 2, 3, 4 weeks, etc., to do as much as you can, because you're not going to get your money back, because basically, let's just say you're currently against 4 other homes, you might be against 40 other homes by that point. So it's better to be in the driver's seat, and you'll be more in the driver's seat, even though you might not have the right colors, or you might have a bit of clutter, as opposed to waiting that amount of time and being against more homes. Okay. But thank you for asking. Hello, Melissa. How are you? Congrats on your sale today and yesterday. Melissa is killing it, as is everyone on the team. The first thing is, like, if you can imagine buying a house for the cost of a bagel. Melissa, can you imagine buying a house for the cost of a bagel? The reason I say that, so in Italy, on the island of Sardinia, there's a little town, I won't even try and pronounce it, but I probably will, Olalia, something like that. So basically their population has gone from 2,250 residents down to 1,300 residents. So the mayor doesn't want it to be like a ghost town. So all of the empty houses, which is 200, he's going to sell for $1.25 each, $1.25, not like 125,000 euros or pounds or anything like that. The only catch, which is not a big catch if you ask me, is that you have to renovate it within 3 years. So you can't just leave it, like that. So it obviously gives local people jobs, like craftsmen and people doing kitchens and bathrooms, etc. But so you have to renovate it within 3 years, which I think is a good deal. Because they got so many applications, now you can't just automatically buy it, which was what they were planning on doing. So you do have to apply. And again, there's only 200 houses. So if you want to do that, it's pretty cool to buy a house in the Mediterranean, basically for $25,000, because they didn't say that there is a cap to what you could do. So you could just renovate $25,000. Is a pretty sweet deal. How many am I buying? I know I'm going to look at it after I get back from the listing appointment tonight. Happy Wednesday, Scotty. Whose face was that? Oh, it was Melissa's with a shocked face. I know, I was shocked too. There's another thing too that I'm going to say tonight, but that one was a better deal, I think. Sabrina, it is in a town called Olai, which is on Sardinia, which is an island in Italy. And the applications have to be in by this month. It ends this month. The cutoff is this month. So the next question comes from Mark and Barry. And, oops, I went one page too far. Mark and Barry says, I get as a buyer you don't pay commission, but is there anything I have to pay for as a buyer? And do you think I should just contact the listing agent or have a buyer's agent? Thank you, Mark, for asking. You will have to pay your lawyer's fees. Depending on your lawyer, it might be $1,200, might be $1,500, etc. I've heard of it as cheap as $850, but I would budget around $1,500. There is one lawyer in Barrie that charges $2,000, but that's the only person I know that charges that much. So I think $1,500 is safer. You will have to pay land transfer tax. And if, for example, you went on realtor.ca, you picked any house, and then there's like a mortgage calculator button. When you click on that, next to it, there's a tab that says land transfer tax. So you pick Ontario, obviously, and then you put the purchase price, $500, etc., and it'll tell you what the taxes are. Let's just say it's $500. They're probably going to be around $6,000, $6,500, etc. It's a little bit over 1% when you work out all the numbers. And that's all you have to pay. Unless you do a home inspection, you have to pay a home inspector. It's around $350 to $550 depending on the home inspector. And if you get a private mortgage, you're going to have to pay a lender fee. If you get a B lender, there might be say like Dominion Lending or whoever, they might have a fee as well. But if you're getting like Royal Bank or Scotia, TD Bank, etc., then they won't have a fee, and you'll just be paying your deposit, your down payment, your lawyer's fees, and your land transfer tax, and possibly your home inspection. Okay, no problem, Sabrina. But thank you for asking, Mark. So the next thing is, so there was an 11-year-old in New York City, and basically he was getting bullied, and his parents, instead of him retaliating and, I don't know, taking kung fu lessons and karate chopping them or something, they decided to every Sunday take him to a Subway, and he set up like a little stand, and it said emotional advice. So basically, because his parents said like they were probably hurting inside these bullies, so instead of like being mean to these people, why don't we be nice to people? So he set up a stand for emotional advice in the Subway every Sunday, and he charges $2 for a 5-minute session, and he makes on average $50 a weekend. And then instead of keeping that money, he goes back and he gives it to a local organization in his community, and they pay for kids' lunches. So maybe those kids don't have money for lunches, and they don't want people to know that they don't have money. So like they're being bullies and trying to win friends that way and be tough and whatever, have people scared of them or what have you. But so that's what he's using his money on Sundays, is to pay for other kids' lunches, which I think is super cute. And again, he's only 11 in New York City. If we're moving from one home you own to another. Yes, Scotty, only if you're moving from one home. Not one home you own. If you don't own a home and you buy a house, you still have to pay land transfer tax. Thank you. You're sweet. Super sweet. Congrats, by the way. We didn't get to see you the other day and your new baby, but congratulations are in store for you today. Hi, Anthony. How are you? I always complain about my nails, but somebody told me that next week we get nails on Tuesday, so I won't have to complain anymore. I'm going to get them off. So this one is missing 2. This one's missing 1. Hi, Brady. How are you? Hi, Kylie. I hope you're well. Okay, so the next question, you guys feel free to ask questions on here. I will go through questions that people have asked throughout the week. I'll do the real estate updates, answer questions, etc. Okay, Scotty, it's a deal. I'm glad you're well, Anthony. I hope that you nominate somebody again for this month's mortgage giveaway. Thanks, Kylie. That's sweet of you. I don't know if your daughter's still at MAC. Obviously, they're closed, but I'm sure you get lots of free makeup. So I'm out of makeup officially as of tomorrow. I did my last powder today. Okay, I am the side rant queen. So the next question comes from Mark and Barry, unless I just did that. Oh, it is. I just did that. So if you need a pick-me-up, there is a course basically that Yale invented, or not invented, but do you know what I mean, put together in 2018, and it was called, what was it called originally? Psychology of the Good Life. And in the first semester, there's over 1,200 people in it. And basically, it was to teach people how to have less stress, be more appreciative, how to flourish and be happy. And then it went on to a podcast called The Happiness Lab, and it had over 30 million downloads. And it was also on an online course that had 3 million users, and that one was called The Science of Well-Being. What I'm getting around to is that they're actually offering that for free right now. And if you're in high school, you can use it as credits for college, which is cool because they're helping kids out to get some credits towards college, which is great. And again, this is through Yale, and it's called psychology, and the good life. So if you guys want some extra bonus credits for college or your kids or what have you, you can do that. So Yale is trying to make people happier and less stressed. So I thought that was good. So now I will go into real estate. So obviously, as you know, majority of people, not majority, but a lot are working from home. Hi, Douglas, how are you? Working from home. So obviously like big office buildings, downtown Toronto and so forth are not occupied. So it's still a bit early to tell, but they can already see that just shy of 20% of the office buildings, like the percentage of is down of rentals. Like people renewing their lease and so forth. So again, they said it's too early to tell, but they're contemplating turning some of them into residential apartments. So not necessarily condos, but obviously there's a lack of housing. In Toronto, we're still supposed to get more than 400,000 immigrants every year for the next 3 years. So they're thinking of maybe turning some of those high-rise, that normally everybody's going to work there and so forth, office buildings into apartments. So that's just something that the city is toying with in Toronto. Also, as you know, or most of you know, some of you know that have watched this before, that tons of people are flocking up north. Some of them are going as far as like Huntsville, etc. Myself and Tyler on the team are going up to Toronto tomorrow to help some people, or Huntsville, to help some people. So like a good hour and 20 minutes away. So some people will just come to Barrie. So basically they said, if you go more than 50 kilometers past the city, for every 10 kilometers you go, you're getting $25,000 more in your house for the exact same price. So people are realizing I can work from home. The interest rates are so low, so then they're going north. Some people are obviously going east and west as well, but a lot of people are going north. So that is what is still going on. Also with the lower interest rates, it makes it easier for people to basically pass and have their levels for the debt to service ratio balanced out. So there's a gross debt to service ratio and a total debt to service ratio. So one looks at just like what you make and how much you spend, and the other one looks at everything. So your OSAP loans, your car loans, your child support, plus all of your mortgage payments, etc. And so if that equals what they think is healthy, then you're approved. But obviously, because the interest rates are lower, it makes it a lot easier for people. Usually they're approved for 25% more than they were before, making the exact same wage that they're making at work. So that is cool. Then what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the average variable right now is 1.3%, which is crazy low. January of last year, so 2020, there was way more refinances, and this year there is way more purchases. So just a bit of a switch in the market. The average mortgage that was got in January 2020 was $440,000, and the average person put down 10% on that property. And obviously Toronto, we've always thought of like $1 million plus homes. And then now surrounding like GTA is teetering around $1 million average. And it's not just on detached homes, that's their average total. So I imagine if you take out obviously the townhouses and condominiums, it would be even higher. But even with that, so they were 929 last year, and they're expected to be $1,025,000 very shortly for their average. Again, counting their townhouses and their condos, etc. So hence why ours is now up over 700,000 when we were just 500 last year. So all makes sense. And basically home sales in the GTA. Oh, there's somebody call me through WhatsApp during a live. I've had them call me on my phone, but never through WhatsApp. So it like flipped my screen up. So I apologize. And I really hope he doesn't call back again to do that again. But home sales in Toronto, the GTA, were up 52% in January. So it's not their average sales price, but the actual number of homes. So 52% more homes sold in January 2021 than January 2020. And this is in Toronto. It's high, Scotty? And then in Toronto, there was 6,928 sales in January. And the year before in January, so 2020, there was 4,546. So 4,500 basically to 6,900. Same month, just 2020 to 2021. And the average sales price in Toronto, again, they're counting condos and freeholds, etc., not just detached. Obviously, it's a lot higher when it's just detached. I don't know, maybe 1.5 or 1.6. But when they count everything, again, condos, etc., In 2020, in January, the average sales price was $838, and in Toronto, the average sales price in January 2020 was $967. Okay, so $838 to $967. The board is basically expecting that 105,000 people will buy or sell real estate in Ontario in 2021, which is great. And they're expecting that the market will stay hot. They think it'll stay hot because of vaccinations coming out, because of low interest rates, because of the lack of inventory, and because of the amount of people working from home. So those are the main reasons they think the market will stay hot. And there's actually, I know I mentioned before that there's like a 1.3% rate, but there's actually a 0.99% rate. And it is a variable fixed closed term. It's with HSBC, and it's based on a high ratio mortgage. So you can't put 5% down on it. It has to be 20% or more. So you're putting 20% down, or 30 or 35, etc. And it's 0.99%, their rate for 5 years. Okay. So crazy low, back in like 91, 92, etc. I was not in real estate, but I was told, I forget what it was, but like 10 to 16% was like the normal or something like that. Something crazy. I was too young to know really what was going on. But to be like 0.99% is crazy. So that was, again, Toronto, etc. I'm glad, Ben. I hope you and Sarah are well and the kids. So locally, for market-wise, because that was Toronto. So in Barrie, in 2019, all of 2019 as a whole, we were 68% a seller's market. And in 2020, we were 95% a seller's market. And in 2021, we're already up over that and teetering around 98, just shy of 98%. And I know a lot of people think that Barrie property taxes are high. And so they gave us the cheapest 5 property tax places that people could live, and the most expensive 5 places people could live for property taxes. So the cheapest places they could live for property taxes are basically all around Toronto, Markham, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, and Milton. And then the most expensive are further north because they don't have basically the infrastructure and so forth. So if they need a new library, they need a new hospital or whatever, they don't really have the funds for it. So the worst and / most expensive property taxes are Windsor, Thunder Bay, Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, and North Bay. And then Barrie, just in case you're curious, we're 1.21% our property tax. So if they say the city needs 10 million to run for that year, they times it by the 1.2. Toronto is 0.59, so they're the best. And the worst was Windsor, which is 1.77. So again, we're 1.21. We're kind of in the middle. Not super great, but not super expensive either. So I don't know. I'm okay with that. So obviously we're in February now. In January, there were 302 homes that sold in Simcoe County. And that's 26.9% higher than the amount of homes that sold January 2020. And it's actually the highest amount of homes that have ever sold in a January since they've been tracking since 1972, which is crazy. And in Barrie alone, of those 302 homes, there was 154 that were just in Barrie. So the rest were like Oro, Angus, Springwater, Innisfil, etc. So of the surrounding areas, there was 154 sold, or sorry, in Barrie, 154 sold. 154 sold in Barrie, which was up 19.4% over last year. And then now the outer, which is what I said, the Innisfil, SS, Springwater, Oro. The other percentage of the homes, which is 148, that was 35.8% more homes than sold January 2020. So 19.4% more homes sold in Barrie and 35.8% more homes sold outside of Barrie, which is obviously a lot. And then people will wonder, okay, yeah, more homes are selling, but what is their sales price? So the average sales price in Simcoe County, so Barrie and surrounding, not just Barrie, was $759,372. I don't really like the end part, so let's just say $759,000 was the average sales price in January, and that was up 36.9% over January 2020. And if we look at just Barrie, the average sales price was $694 and change. Which is up 36.6% over 2020. If we look outside of Barrie, the average sales price is $826 and change, which is up 35.7%. The amount of sales that happened in January in Simcoe County were 202 229.3 million worth of sales, so in homes. And so that was 2021 in January, and that's 73.7% higher than January of 2020. And that is the highest January ever on record. So not in like 5 years, not in 10 years, whatever. It's the highest January ever on record, which makes sense. We've been crazy busy, and we're like, we can't believe this is January. Obviously, it's February now, but I mean, then it was crazy January. So there was 365 new listings in January in Simcoe County, which sounds pretty decent. However, that was 27.9% less than January of last year, and the lowest that it's been in the last 2 decades. Okay, so not very much if we think of it that way. In January, there was 31 condos that sold in Simcoe County, which is 40.9% more than sold in 2020, and the average sales price was 17.3% higher. If we look at just detached homes in Barrie, in 2020, there was 287 that sold. In 2021, there was 367, so that's more than 27% more sold in 2021. The average price in 2020 for the detached homes was $547, and now the average price of detached is $793, which is crazy, up over 45%. There was only 8 semi-detached homes that sold last year in January, and this year there was 14. And last year the average sales price was $493, and this year the average sales price was $606. Townhouses last year there was 45 that sold in January. This year only 36. So this is the only number that went down. So there was 20% less townhomes that sold in January of this year. However, last year the average sales price was $419, and this year the average sales price was $571 and change, which is up over 36% for townhomes. And then for condos, the average sales price last year was $386, and this year it is $473, which is up more than 22.4% for the condos. I need some water. I need water boy or tennis person that refreshes your water. So Mandy from Horseshoe Highlands has a question. Again, you guys can write in questions there if you want. But Mandy from Horseshoe says, I have been torn on multiple occasions and can't decide what property to make an Airbnb. I've seen churches, I've seen old log homes, I've seen waterfront properties, and converted industrial buildings. I love them all, but can only have one. Please help. Mandy, thank you for asking. If you strictly love them all, then you could randomly pick a name out of a hat. But if you love them all equally, I would just research them all. So if you love them all literally identical, I would look up like your money wise. So you work it all out, you look up the neighborhoods, you're like, okay, this one's going to average $250 a night. This one's going to average $310 a night because there's less vacancies in the neighborhood of this one, or this one I can charge a higher cleaning fee, blah, blah. So work them all out. And then obviously give yourself time that would be vacant during the year. To be honest, I don't let mine be vacant. I just lower the price. So I might get regularly 500 a night. If I can still get 200 a night, 200 is better than nothing. So I don't want it to be vacant. But so if you literally love them all equally, which I doubt you do, you probably like one more than the other. I would do your research and go off of money wise. But again, look at your neighbors that are Airbnb-ing there and see. Sorry, there's ambulances around. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but see if the neighbors have a lot of vacancies or if they're fully booked. You can go back on Airbnb and look in their calendar and see, and you're like, wow, they were only booked for 5 days that month. So, I shouldn't expect to be booked for 30 days, or wow, they've only had 5 days not booked in the past year. So just do your homework if you literally like them all the same. You did mention a log house. Just on a side note, it is harder for financing for log homes than a sided home or a brick home, as well as it is harder for insurance, just as an FYI. Churches, it depends what it's zoned. So if it's zoned residential or if it's zoned still like as a church, that might be a stumbling block for you. You might have to get like a minor variance or something, or change it to residential zoning. But thank you for asking, Mandy. Next, so normally like a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, let alone a 50-year-old and an 80-year-old, do not usually have $650,000. However, there's 2 sisters in Texas that do have that. So the 5-year-old little girl, You thought the sirens were coming for you, Scotty? No, they're not. They did not find me, Scott. I have a halo up here. There's no sirens or police coming for me. And I'm not driving right now, so I can't say I have a heavy foot sitting in my condo. But this 5 and 8-year-old, the 5-year-old could make origami or origami, however you say that word, where they fold the paper into like paper cranes and what have you. And anyways, she, I guess got told in her kindergarten class, or somebody said like some people don't have clean water. And she was like so distraught by that as this little 5-year-old. So she told her dad that she wanted to like help these kids that didn't have clean water. So he said no problem, and he started to help her making these, because obviously they had a book that showed them how to fold them. Her 8-year-old sister started to help, the mom started to help, and they asked a Starbucks near them in Texas if they could put a little stand outside for one day and sell these things, saying that they were going to donate all the money to help put in a well in Africa. They ended up their goal was to make $500. They ended up getting over $10,000. Obviously, some people put big donations like, oh, I'll give you $2,000 or what have you. They thought it was cute, these two little kids. And they ended up starting an actual nonprofit organization called, what is it called? Paper for Water. And now it's been a few years, and now they have raised over $650,000, and they've put in over 70 wells in like Africa, Peru, Mexico, India, etc., all just from this little girl not wanting these kids not to have clean water. On a random side note, obviously we live in a first world country, so 783 million people do not have clean water like we do, and over 1 billion people lack like toilets or proper sanitization utilities, and it's estimated that it would take 20 million to fix that. And that seems like a lot of money, but in the US alone, the average that they spend every single year at Christmas is $400 billion. So it's not that much if we think about it that way. Sorry, $220 billion to save it, to help everything in the world, and they spend $400 billion every Christmas. So kind of seems like a no-brainer, but anyways. But that is that, those two cute little girls. A next question is from Sandra and Dennis in Snow Valley. Sandra and Dennis, we would love to take advantage of the high hot market, but how far do we have to move to be out of it to buy? Thank you, Sandra and Dennis, for asking. So to be honest, the majority of people, like when we get multiple offers in Barrie and we're reading all of the realtors' names, let's just say there's 20 of them, 19 of them will not be common Canadian born names. So that's kind of the trend. And then we had one, for example, 40 minutes north of Barrie, and 19 out of 20 of them were like Cindy, Joe, Richard, Mark, Dennis, etc. Whereas the other names that currently are offering in Barrie, Innisfil, Alliston, etc. are not names like that. Okay. So that gives you a bit of an indication of driving wise, but also as we get closer to, summertime, etc., and majority of people like to move in the summer, not when there's a foot of snow, there will be more homes on the market. So it won't be as crazy as a seller's market. It'll still be a seller's market. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be a seller's market all year, just not as crazy when there's more inventory. As well as, like I said, just moving that bit further. But some people are taking that 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 extra that they have now from their home and getting like crazy top dollar and using that so they have more down on their next property. But yeah, a lot of people are moving that little bit out of town. And even the people from Toronto that are moving further north, they're moving to waterfront further north because they want them as a cottage. They're not moving on other properties like really in town, etc. Anthony's laughing. Okay. Next question. Oh, no, it's not a question. This is Toys R Us. Oh, yeah. You know how, like, in town, I don't know if they still do it because I don't usually go to the bank at this time, but they were doing it at TD Bank, like, the first hour. They were letting it be, like, the senior citizens just for their safety and so forth. So in Toys R Us in the UK, they started doing the first hour was for children on the spectrum. They have over 700,000 autistic children or people on the spectrum in the UK. So they have the lights down lower. They don't do any announcements. They just basically alter things for them because there's a lot of things that can set off, them in the store and big, larger settings and so forth. And also in Australia, they're doing it at a zoo now. So before they open, they're opening earlier for families with children that are autistic or on the spectrum. So that is cool. I thank you, Anthony. I know, I was like, I don't know how to say it. That was my politically correct. And you knew what I meant. So there you go. I have to be politically correct. All right. So next, question on a side note before I do the question, which Anthony knows about because his winner won last month, the mortgage giveaway. So every month in 2021, we are giving $2,500 on the first of every month towards somebody's mortgage or their rent. So feel free to either send a video like I'm doing right now or a written submission to info@crippshomes.com. Again, info@crippshomes.com, and just tell us who you are and who the person is and why you think they should win. They do have to live in Simcoe County and they do have to be over the age of 18. You could just say, Chris down the street is an amazing dad and I always see him out with his kids or whatever. Or Julie is, the baker at my local grocery store and she always smiles at me and makes my day better. Or Rosemary is blah, 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 whatever, okay? You guys decide who you think is special and who you think is deserving of $2,500 towards their mortgage or rent payment, okay? Oh, does it, Sarah? That's cool. So Sarah says in Collingwood, the first hour they have shopping for, I'm assuming you mean for children on the spectrum, not elderly, yeah? So thank you, Ashley, for mentioning that. So there's a nonprofit called Joseph's Home in the States, and there was this little girl named Erin. She was 13, and she basically saved all these cans and bottles and so forth until she had $200, and with her $200 she bought 60 raffle tickets to a gala that they did, and there was 26,000 tickets sold, and of the 26,000 tickets sold, her ticket was drawn and she won a $70,000 SUV, and she's only 13, and she's one of 6 kids. Obviously, I'm sure her parents could use the vehicle or use the money, etc., and sell the vehicle, but instead she donated it back to Joseph's House, which is so great of her as a 13-year-old. And Joseph's House helps pregnant moms as well as their children and so forth get on their feet. So I just thought that was super cute because she said, although yes, it could help, my family, that $70,000 can help many more families than just one family. So she wanted to spread the love. So I thought that was cute for a 13-year-old. So that's why I'm sharing Erin's story. So then there was, when I was saying that there was another place besides $1.25, there is a city in the States, and it's by New Orleans, and it's called Natchez, which I've never heard of, in Mississippi. But basically, if you're annoyed with Simcoe County's crazy market or Toronto's crazy market, etc., you could move to Natchez, and they will give you $6,000 if you move there. They will pay your moving expenses as well as $300 a month for a year. You do, however, have to buy a $150,000 or greater house, but their average house is $96,000, so I'm assuming $150,000 would buy you a really nice one. I personally would rather have that house in the Mediterranean and just renovate it how I want, but that's just me. I just thought it was real estate related, so I thought I would let you guys know that. I hope you guys all stay safe and well. It's Valentine's this weekend. It's Family Day this weekend. Stay safe and be kind. I hope you guys are unapologetically yourselves every single day. And have a great night and a lovely long weekend.